Hello, my name is Zach Leasor, and I'm the State Climate Extension Specialist with the University of Missouri. With all of the recent rainfall we've had, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about CoCoRaHS. Now, you might have heard the word CoCoRaHS before, but weren't sure exactly what it was, or maybe you've never heard the word before and think maybe it's a funny acronym. But what CoCoRaHS is the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. And this is a volunteer precipitation observation monitoring network. And you can measure that precipitation in your own backyard, enjoying the CoCoRaHS network. And so CoCoRaHS really began in the mid 2000s as a way for people to set up a rain gauge on their own property and go online to share those daily rainfall measurements. And so this means recording every day and not just when it rains, but also on those dry days as well to really better understand some of our precipitation measurements that we see. And so you can go online on your computer and add your rainfall or snow measurements each day, or you can do it on your phone as well, as CoCoRaHS has a mobile friendly interface. But what this allows us to do is to look at rainfall across the country and also in your neighborhood as well. And so here we can see what the CoCoRaHS map usually looks like. We can see the rainfall across the country and some hot spots in areas where we have more observations than others. As a climatologist, I use this CoCoRaHS data a lot to monitor rainfall across the state. We certainly have official weather stations maintained by the National Weather Service and the university that have rainfall measurements, but we don't have the frequency that we have here with our CoCoRaHS volunteer network. And so here we can see a lot of observations across the state. This was one of our more recent rainfall events on May 27th. And we can see some of those spots where you see the red dots picking up more than 2 inches of rainfall, but we also see a lot of green dots showing a 1/4 inch to an inch of rainfall across a lot of the state. I also want to point out that you can definitely see in some of our metro areas where we have clusters of more CoCoRaHS observers, so Columbia, St. Louis, but we also have locations across the state where we don't have some observers, and some counties, in fact, where we don't have any CoCoRaHS observers. And so if you're watching today and notice your location on the map and don't see a lot of dots around, your observations would be very valuable there. And additionally, if you do look at the map and see a lot of neighboring observations, we also really like to see some of this local variability in the rainfall. So here, zoomed in on St. Louis, and we can see in just a few miles the difference between 0.95 inches of rainfall and 2.6 inches of rainfall. And so monitoring these microclimate conditions and capturing those really small scale variability that we see in the thunderstorms is really important as well. But for you as well, collecting this information each day, CoCoRaHS has a really great data portal that will kind of tell you and summarize your climate data at your location here. And so this is our CoCoRaHS rain gauge on campus here, and we've maintained this rain gauge for 18 years here. But we can see our month-to-date precipitation for May. So we've received 2.8 inches of rainfall, our year-to-date precipitation as well, which is really useful. And eventually, once you record enough rainfall observations, you'll have a climatology at your location. And so here we can look at all of our rainfall over the past 18 years and look at how certain years stack up against others. We can also look at, for example, our frequency of days with measurable precipitation above certain thresholds. And so how often do we really see some of these extreme rainfall events over 4 inches? Well, on campus, we've only seen that happen 6 days out of the last 18 years. And so being able to look at things with the data is very interesting through the CoCoRaHS web interface. And so hopefully I've convinced you maybe to think about becoming a CoCoRaHS observer, but you might have questions about, is your location good for monitoring rainfall? And my answer, without even seeing where you're at, is yes. And that's because no matter where you are, we can probably find a spot that's good, suitable for rainfall measurements using a rain gauge. And so in a residential area, this is usually in the front or backyard, just far enough away from obstructions like trees, fences, and homes. Rural areas, it's usually pretty easy to find a good open space for that rain gauge. And Even though in urban areas we may need to get a little more creative, like going up on the roof here with this rain gauge, usually you can find a spot there as well. So don't let your location sway you from becoming an observer here. The question I usually get a lot is sometimes people already have maybe their own rain gauge or their own weather station and ask if they can report that to CoCoRaHS. The answer is no. CoCoRaHS is a standardized network, meaning that to compare all these rainfall measurements, we want to use the same rain gauge. And so what needs to occur is a 4-inch rain gauge here, like is shown here in this picture. And so you can actually purchase one through CoCoRaHS here, and I provided that link. When I checked this morning, the cost of the rain gauge was $42. And so I like to say that that's an investment into a new hobby, because usually once people get started with CoCoRaHS and start recording their rainfall measurements, they find it's a lot of fun and something they really enjoy doing each day. And so I'll leave here with just some links to get started. The CoCoRaHS website is great with training and educational material to help you get signed up, but they also maintain a very helpful YouTube channel as well that also contains all of the same materials. And finally, if you do have any questions about CoCoRaHS or getting started and joining, you can always reach out to me as well. And here's my contact information. So thank you.